So yeah, who's ever done screen printing before? Really? That's awesome because it's kind of a dying art, I thought. So I'm SkyDog. I'm the guy who got to put out. This is not doggy porn, I swear. This is actually sitting on Heidi's couch. Do what? I cut the little ass. Yeah, that's true. This is not doggy porn or porn in any way. That is porn. That just happened to pop up on a camera while I was going through to look for pictures, and I'm like, oh, I've got to put that one up. So I have the venture we do in Nashville called the Hacker Consortium. Do what?
I need that picture.
Which one? Nikki Payne? Oh, yeah, it's Nikki Payne. She's a Canadian comic. Small-chested. Anyway, she wanted to.
You really want the boom one.
Oh, okay. Is that what it is? So we have the Hacker Consortium in Nashville, and it's about. And in that space, there's a lot of junk that we've collected, and we're trying to sort through. And occasionally, I'll fire up the screen press and do some shirts. These shirts were actually done yesterday morning about 4 a.m. So typically I do it at the last moment, and it's terrible, but I enjoy doing it. So what I've found is that there's not a ton of resources out on the internet to explain how to do it. And most of the time you get a hold of Cafe Press, and you send them some graphics, and they inkjet one and send it to you. And everyone goes, hey, look, I had a shirt printed. Well, yeah, you had it printed off an inkjet printer. This is actually how it's been done in the past. It's, it's actually a plastisol, yelling in the mic there. It's a plastisol ink. It stretches, it dries well. Anything else you normally get done through Cafe Press lasts a little while, but it comes off and goes away and fades really easy. So this is actually how it's been done since everyone was a stoner and did it out of their garage. So I know that everyone's been staring at the kitty cat picture, but I put this up as an example of, I don't know what I put. I actually had tits and kitties in it, so I thought that was kind of appealing. But
Kitty porn?
kitty, you would pick that one up, actually, you dog. So I kind of put this up to show different types of artwork. Got line art here. This is actually what was on the page of the Outerz0ne web page, and I think Nikki Payne's funny as all get out, so I just threw her in there. What I typically do is basically line art. If you're going to do something like the Makers Local guys, if you look at their t-shirts, they have a dot pattern to do a gray. So I don't do a lot of that, mainly because I haven't been that bored, and most of what I end up having to do is text or something similar. So this is the kind of stuff I deal with all the time. Later on, the foam core's over here. I've got to set it up and everything, but as a tradition now, I don't know how this got started, but it started probably like everything else we do around this joint. We put up foam core in the back with little blue lines on it and gave everybody a Sharpie to write with and said, write your name on it, your handle or whatever, and just like the sign-in board, and everyone signed it. And it was like, oh, cool, this is, the fuck am I going to do with this now? So we kind of thought, well, geez, we'll have to come up with something. And it then became I know what we'll do. We'll cut these apart, we'll scan them in, and we'll put them on the back of the t-shirt. So I actually have several of the shirts that we've collected over time that has, like 30 names around it. And then there's 50 names. And the one for this year actually has 75 on it, which to fit all those names into a 10 by 13 area with a little bit of graphic and everything, it got pretty interesting. But for what we were doing, it was just kind of nice to have everyone, make their mark. Decode had to be the wise ass and use my zero. Ware had to draw a picture. Ware's the one who threw the chair off the roof at Freaknik. What? Yeah. No, it's mine. I call eminent domain. Shut up. No, I'm just messing with you, Decode. So I don't know who Death Rectum is, but it's on the back of the shirt, so if you don't want to wear it to work. I looked at Death Rectum and went, hey, you showed up, I'm putting it on the shirt. I don't care. You can just walk around your office with your thumb over it all day long.
It's not pornographic, so.
That's true. You just have to explain to your boss what Death Rectum is, There you go.
Nobody reads shirts.
Yeah, no one pays attention to them anymore, just the staff one. So I actually have invested probably about $1,000 into my screen printing rig. And it started out as a little speedball frame made by 8.5 by 11 or somewhat similar sized. We would lay it down over the top of a t-shirt, run a squeegee across it and press ink into the shirt and then peel it off. It was heinous, but we got ink on a shirt and we were thrilled by that. So the original system that we put together was really, really crappy. I started watching some of the videos that Ryan and a couple other places had put out and came up with some really cool ideas and everything. And just over time, I bought a press, I bought other equipment, I invested in better chemicals and things like that, and kind of got to the position I'm in. If you don't mind, if you'll break all this out and set the frame up and we'll go through the chemicals and everything. So one of the fun things, who's ever worked with the printing industry? A couple of guys. Guess what happens now? No one worth a damn goes straight to film anymore. They go straight to plate. So getting a film positive made is very difficult, even in Nashville, which is the hub of printing in the Southeast. So this is a film positive, meaning that the image that you want to appear is a positive. A negative is the reverse of this. It is often somewhat difficult to explain to someone you want a positive because they say, well, our thing puts out negatives. No, it's a film positive. So this is actually, I don't know if you can see what it says. This is the speaker shirt this year. I spoke at Outerz0ne 5 and all I got was this damn t-shirt. So I figured that would be fun for everyone to wear around, and you know, what can you say? I can't get everybody a Porsche. So I had several sheets of this artwork output and several. Do what?
Have you ever considered using vellum paper in place of the transparency for the film box?
Yeah. This is actually Mylar that has inkjet printing on it. This is for neutral skateboards. A buddy of mine has a skateboard crew, and he wanted to do t-shirts. There's his, I don't know if you can see that one worth a damn, the old man picture. This is a sort of a milky Mylar, and my concern about using it is any kind of obstruction on the layer of Mylar keeps light from getting through, and it's very essential for making the image that we use. Vellum works, but then you've got to shoot it for a lot longer period of time. Do I? But you have to have a very opaque image, which means India ink and a lot of time. So the reason I end up doing this is because of film negative. If I have a piece of this negative and I hold it up to the sun, I can look through it and see the sun because it's an actual opaque layer there. So I can expose this image for quite a period of time and still get exactly what I want without burning out the black image. And you'll see what that means in just a second. So how they used to do some of this stuff, the homebrew stuff, was you took a screen, which it's one of these. This is a standard 110 mesh wooden screen. They make them in aluminum. The 110 is actually who knows what thread counts are in sheets, bags. Anyway, actually, you can get a higher mesh screen for higher quality printing and things like that. I use 110 for this because I'm shoving very thick white ink through it to be able to put it on a black shirt. To this point, I haven't really wanted to do any other colors. A black shirt with white print is, you know, what we all wear anyway. So they used to take the screen, lay it down, draw their image on it, and then use a thing called a resist. And it was actually like painting on paint onto the screen. And where you didn't want ink to come through, you had to paint this stuff on, which was boring and tedious. And someone said, geez, we can't make money doing this. So they came out with a method to use a sensitized diazo. I don't think I brought mine with me today. I left it at the shop. Comes in a quart bucket for what I buy for 25 bucks. It's light sensitive, but not like film is. But you want to mix it up and get it going and not expose it outright. So what you end up doing is taking this quart of this bizarre pink colored liquid, mixing a little bit of water in a container that's got a special sensitizer, and you mix it in, blah, blah, blah. Set it in the refrigerator for a while, let all the air bubbles come out, And then for a good 30, 60 days, something like that, you have this material. I have 3 containers of it that are all dead now because I print shirts before Freaknik, I print them before Outerz0ne. You know, I use a certain amount of it and I don't use any more. What I've got here is called a scoop coater. This bizarre pink liquid here is actually the light sensitive emulsion. Yes, this was actually done in the dark at the consortium. I've got a screen frame that's been cleaned. I take the scoop coater at the bottom and I run it up, and literally it just lays a real thin layer of this material on it. I spin the frame around the other direction and put it in through, do the back side first, the front side, and then get a nice thin layer going. Once I do that, you can see my reflection in the top of it. Then you have a nice wet screen, which anything that's this size that you don't want to hold off axis and have all of the material slide down, it has to be nice and flat, which I figured out how to fix that problem. Hey, we made our own drying unit. So the consortium has actually done some projects that, of sizable amount, but boy, it looks heinous, doesn't it? It's actually a Cisco power over Ethernet adapter hooked up to 4 fans. I had a bunch left over, hell. The frame, I think, yeah, the interior of this actually has 3 shelves built into it. So I crack it open, slide a couple of sensitized frames in it, close it up. It's got a, not a HEPA filter, but it's got a filter set on the backside of it. So it's pulling air across the frames. Takes a couple hours to dry them, you know, the way they need to be. But set them up and let them get sensitized. Once I do that, what?
Do they have to be forced air dried like this, or is that just for expedience?
Because it would take, you know, several hours to do just one if it's just sitting there.
But if you put it in, say, a bread rack and let it sit overnight?
Yeah, it'll do the same thing. You have to put it in your bathroom or something like that. That's the problem, is it becomes very inconvenient when you set them on top of your bed on a sheet of plywood and let them sit there for hours, and someone says, if you don't get that shit off the bed so I can go to sleep, I'll kill you. So hence, we've got one of these now. But yeah, I built this to be able to do a little bit more production work. So yeah, you can see this is the table of the consortium covered in crap. You have the propane cylinder right next to the disc shooting little gun from Kroger's. What we ended up doing, this sheet of graphics has 75 names on it, plus it has this really a little bit later. But the screen, or the frame of graphics here, where's the, let's see the untaped one. What I ended up doing is, who knows the difference between right reading, or well, what is it, right reading and reverse image? Right reading is when you look through the face of it, you can actually read the text, as opposed to reversed. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I realized I put the graphics for the speaker shirt on backwards and exposed them, which means cleaning them, resensitizing them, drying them, and then shooting the image again, which is all kinds of fun.
Really, really good to have a drying rack at that point.
Yes, very, very good. But
For a shirt would have been cool.
well, I thought about it actually when I looked at it. This is, you guys go, oh man, that would have been cool. I was looking at it going, fuck, I guess I could just put it on the back in reverse, and like, never mind. The graphic for this year with the little bunny rabbit and everything was, geez, we got to put something on there. What can it be? We keep doing it. We keep going and go. Hey, guess what? So the next thing you know, we've got a bunny rabbit with the iPod. You know, it happens. So you take the graphics. In theory, to do right reading, you would put it on the face of the screen. But the problem is you've got to expose the light through the screen. So what we end up doing is flipping it backwards, laying the graphics on it in reverse, and exposing it that way. Now, what you see on the screen here, I'm actually laying the piece of film on the back side of it, taping it down. Here's another, I actually did another project with the consortium. The maker guys came up, and while they were shooting the bull was messing around, I actually went through and made an exposure frame. It's a piece of glass on just a stand. That is a 300-watt lamp. Let me tell you, it's extremely bright, makes a lot of heat, but it's the best way I've found to actually expose the screen.
Is that halogen?
No, it's actually like a reflector with a medium base and a huge light. I've looked at halogen. Part of the problem is the emulsion that you're using is not only sensitive to light, but heat. And if you don't watch it, the heat rising up through it can actually bake the emulsion solid before you ever get the image on it, which I found that out by putting it over really hot light before and then standing in the shower spraying the screen trying to get the image to come out for about 45 minutes. Things I've learned you get to take benefit of. I take the exposure frame, lay my screen on top of it. This is a piece of foam. Oddly enough, I think I've got I don't have a picture of it. I have like a dozen 12-volt, 7-amp batteries, the gel cells, that are stacked up on top of this thing, holding it flat, putting pressure through the foam against the glass so that I get good contact. You can see from the flare coming off the little reflector out there, the light's on, and boy, it's blowing your eyeballs out. But I will typically expose a screen like this at that distance between 23 and 30 minutes, depending on how bored I am. If I'm using vellum or something else that, you know, I've got to kind of mess with the exposure, I might cut it down, I might leave it longer or something like that. It's not like a digital camera where you take a picture and go, man, that sucks, and you hit delete. A delete for me means spraying a chemical on it, removing the emulsion, letting it dry, resensitizing it, letting it dry, shooting another exposure. So you're talking about 4 or 5 hours to do something like that. Anything, if you do screen printing, if you go to your local art supply store, and Speedball has a lot of like beginner kits and things like that, you can actually buy an emulsion similar to this. It's green. It's really a pain to wash out. That's why I use this pink color stuff. But it's going to be the same process, just on a smaller scale. So what I'm showing you doesn't mean you've got to go spend $1,000. You can spend $100 and be making t-shirts. It just doesn't work as quick as what I'm doing. Yeah, there we go. That's so everything from this point on is actually going to be a live demonstration, because you really wouldn't want to sit here for 5 hours while we let a screen dry unless I was serving alcohol. So yeah, this is the shot of Al, which he's not up yet. This is Al, myself, and Lady Merlin consuming $100 worth of sushi at ShmooCon earlier this year. I needed a filler picture, and I thought, boy, that looks good. So I threw that one up anyway. If you will kill the projector so I can move around up here and not blind myself, I'll drop this out. So,
quick question. Do you know of any ways, or does anybody else that's done screen printing know of any ways of doing the exposures quicker?
yes, you use an arc lamp, and you have to use, sorry. You have to use an arc lamp, which is seriously tubed together with a lot of electricity and create an arc. It'll blow your eyeballs out if you're not watching it. In the printing industry, do I? I've looked at one before, and it's a, oh, sorry, no, it had no ill effects. But yeah, you can shoot one in 5 minutes with enough light to expose it, but you're talking about a 220-volt device that, you know, carbon arcs. It's really a pain in the ass to deal with, and someone who does it all the time is going to have one of those setups. So.
Well, the reason I asked is when I was in photography, way back when I was in.
Is that when they first developed Eastman Kodak? You came up with it.
Kodak, it was back in the 30s.
Yeah, I'm with you.
They had a darkroom in our school.
Yeah.
And, they had a through-the-wall camera for
Yeah.
what I could only assume is for screen printing, because it was very large format, and they only basically used it to do. They were making plates with it.
Yeah. You can, a lot of those systems would do refractive instead of transmissive. Instead of laying something on top of the screen, you put it on a flat base, shot a lot of light at it, and then it came and went through a lens and went onto a backplane. You had to adjust everything just right to actually shoot an image that way. You could do it that way. It's very difficult and would take a while to actually expose, but it can be done. So if you go to a full-size screenshot, which I wish I had the, has anybody got a Freaknik shirt on from last year? No, it doesn't count. So the Freaknik shirts, if you haven't seen those, I'm doing white on a black shirt, which is real simple to do. The Freaknik shirts were 9 process colors on a single shirt. They had never done 9 process colors before. They bought a piece of software to be able to separate the color out, and I'll make James wear his shirt later on tonight. You can check it out. But they literally took our image, which Jigsaw did. Is she here? No one showed up to this talk. Anyway, I'm just kidding, guys. They took the image and broke it down into 9 separate colors, solid colors, and did each one of them on a 14-position screen printing device. So literally it's like one side of the room to the other in a huge wagon wheel style. And they set a shirt on it, and the device comes down and it goes to the screen, and it moves, 10 degrees and does the next one. And it's this huge wheel that spins, or 2 wheels that spin. I walk in and they're like, yeah, we just put your job on. Come over here. And there's 3 of these huge printing devices. And I'm like, no, I want to stand over here and look at this one for a minute. So they do this 9-color thing that I don't know how they could make it work. It had to have taken them forever to set it up. But it was really a nice kind of a deal. They've invested $500,000 in all of the equipment they've got. I've got 1,000. Okay, so I'm not making a lot of colors. I can do a single one rather easy. But one of the reasons I wish Al was in here is we had a 4 a.m. conference one morning after Freaknik, and we were talking about cons and putting things on, and he said, you know what I really hate about doing a con? And I said, not being able to run around the whole time? And he said, no. He said, doing the t-shirts. He said, you either have a design that everybody wants and they disappear and you don't have enough, or you print a ton of them and everyone goes, I don't like it. And then you're stuck with them. So I have a drawer at home that's full of t-shirts from other, from the cons I've done in the past. I'm like, I guess I can give those away. I don't know. So you end up with like handfuls of t-shirts that, no one wants at that point because it's, the con's gone, the magic isn't there anymore. What are you going to do with it? And he said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to print 4 shirts. And the first 4 people get those shirts, and we'll sell them for $200 or something, but screw this. It sucks trying to, what do you do with all the shirts? And I said, I got an idea. Why don't we just print them at the con? And he said, can you do that? I said, yeah, I guess. I mean, I got all the equipment, so yeah, why don't we print them at the con? So there's like 100 t-shirt blanks in here in different sizes, so yeah, I can print whatever I want. The trouble is, once you put the ink on there, it doesn't wash out. You can't use the shirt for anything else other than to wash the car, and that's kind of expensive. So what we're actually going to do is set the full rig up, and I'm going to make a t-shirt, and then from that point on, if you want a t-shirt, we're actually going to print them right here. While you're, eating pizza and everything, you can come up. We'll silk screen one. Now, they're $15 a pop. So that's basically to pay for the shirt themselves and to help fund the con. I don't trust me, I'm not going on a vacation in the Bahamas after this conference is over. My goal is to break even. So, yeah, I'm not Jay Ware. So what we're going to do is set it up and actually make everything happen. And if you want a shirt, yeah, we're going to do the back one. The big one is the print. While I'm actually putting this on here, we'll tell a few tales. They're the first Outerz0ne. Does anyone have the badge from the first Outerz0ne? Yeah. I wasn't being very politically correct. Sorry, God, it's Italian. What we ended. I'm never going to live that one down ever. It became one of those, hey, we need to do graphics for the badge. And occasionally I have a lapse in judgment and think it's a good idea to do something, and I go ahead with it, and then it comes back to bite me later on in sort of some karmic way. So we decided to put on the back of every badge some, not exactly sign language, but some line art, and it literally was fuck, or no, it was fuck, you, and a rocket. So there are pictures of me standing talking to Rocket like this far away, and my badge is flipped over, and you can see that graphic. He's looking I'm taller than he is, so he's looking at my badge and looking up at me the entire time. Yeah, I don't know what Rand is up to anymore, but he's not doing Outerz0ne.
They're doing similar, but it's not here, it's out in California.
You're not talking about, no, Security Opus is, that was kind of a funny one too. Richard Lindbergh does Security Opus. Originally, it was called Outerz0ne West. I get a phone call, and this guy I've never met before says, "Are you coming to DEF CON?" And I said, "Oh, of course. I'll be there with bells on." And he said, "Oh, okay, cool, because I'd like to have lunch with you. I'm in Las Vegas. You want to have lunch with me?" I feel a shallow grave in my future, apparently. And because I don't know who the hell this guy is. And he says, "Yeah, I'm Richard Lindbergh. I do Outerz0ne West." Cool. Huh. Sounds good to me. Whatever, dude. So we actually meet at the buffet, and there's enough people there that we can't really have a chat. And the guy says, "Well, you know, really want to talk to you. I got to run some errands. You want to go with me?" I'm thinking, fuck, I am going to be in a shallow grave later today. You know, Rocket has said, "Here's some money, kill him." So I said, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to go." We go running around. He actually, for some reason, had a second hotel room so that he could keep all of his stuff off-site and do whatever he needed to do, and but then go to the other hotel room party. So again, I'm thinking shallow grave. And the guy gets in the car and we're riding along, and he says, "Yeah, I just wanted to kind of clear the air." And I'm like, "I don't know you. What's the deal?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I borrowed the name Outerz0ne from Rand to try to have some sort of recognition." He says, "I know that, you know, you've had some issues with him, and, you know, I really don't want you to, like, try to put me out of business." And I'm like, "Dude, do I have that reputation now or what? Piss me off, I show up and I put you out of business." No, it's, what else we got in there? What we're gonna have to do is kill that light over there, and I have a 1 to 3 back in the back, the orange cord. Hey, Decode, that cord that I had you plug in, could you unplug it and bring it up here and not destroy something? So yeah. Which rig? No, this is actually a commercially available rig. It is, well, yeah, like everything I have, I had to modify a little bit. Slide this back over here. This is about a $250, thank you, sir. That green cord, just unplug that light, plug that in. This is a $250 commercially available screen printing single color rig. Which works, it does a great job. I've done a ton of t-shirts with it. One of the problems is when you hang a 20 by 24 screen off the end of it, there's enough weight on it that the screen will fall. Typically when you put a squeegee and a bunch of ink and everything on it, the last thing you want is for it to fall while you're working on it. So I put a 2.5 pound barbell weight on the tail end of it. It's got a magnet, but I threw that on there to be able to sort of counterbalance it and keep it in position. So. Necessity is a mother, apparently. That's how that one came about. There is a, here we go. Do I? Yes, yeah. This also tells you what you do and don't want to do when it comes to dealing with the industry. This is an $11 ink spatula, but in the real world, it's a $4 icing knife. $11, $4, take your pick. I got it in, I went, a Teco. Oh, I'll see if I can find a number 1386 ink spatula. And no, it's actually an icing knife that they use. So anyway, a lot of things like that. Buying your squeegees, you don't want to scrimp on that. This is actually a real nice speedball squeegee. It's got a real nice and thick squeegee blade on it. This is what you'd buy if you bought a regular, you know, the $100 speedball kit. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick, and it bends really easy. Unfortunately, it doesn't shove a lot of ink through the screen either. So I've got a couple of things that I end up using. I was trying to assemble a slide that would show it, but I didn't get a chance to. You have your t-shirt blank. I'll show you some interesting things about how all this goes together. I have Top Bond Mist from Chemical Consultants. Actually, this is like just a spray adhesive. It's anything major, but you actually spray mount the t-shirt to the platen here. So I'll be using that. I have my squeegee, I have my icing knife, and I have what I like to refer to as nuclear baby shit. This is a quart of Ryonet white. That's also called Phoenix white in a lot of situations. This is actually what's on the black t-shirt. I call it nuclear baby shit because if you ever had a kid before and you've changed a diaper, it's nuclear baby shit and Velcro. It goes everywhere. If you get a single dot of it on your finger, everything you touch for a good hour will have a dot on it until you find it and wipe it off your finger. I tell you. So the fun part about this stuff is it does not set up. I mean, if you leave it out in the open, it will the chemical carrier that's in it will actually dissipate, but the white stuff that's left behind will do the exact same thing. It transfers everywhere. So no matter what you do, you have to be a little. Pardon me, that was fun for me. Can you? Yeah, you can still hear me. Those are necessary. Where are the gloves at? Yeah, fire up the heat gun. Hey, Decode. Yeah. Annual exam, baby. Hey, you want to go get my latex? I got a box in the trunk. I would almost. I snagged these. That's right. This is right next to my just in case shotgun. No, this is. You're gonna need one to go to the scary part is these actually came from the consortium because Tillman bought them for something we were working on there, and I had to snag them. Then I thought Tillman bought a handful. Oh God, I don't want to know what he bought these for. But he bought like 1,000 of them, so. I only do this during this portion of it because, like I say, once you get some of this on you, it goes a long, long way. So it doesn't cure by oxidation, meaning if you set it out in the sun, it doesn't over time actually dry. It cures, boy, that's going to look good. It cures by heat alone. So I can move this stuff all over the place and it'll stay tacky and crappy and everything until I hit it with a heat gun. Then it becomes like rubber. If you look at the shirt you have on, if you have one with white ink, and you stretch just a little bit, what you'll find is the ink actually stretches with the shirt. That is a plastisol ink, which is what I'm using here. If you have something that's done with an acrylic, it typically, when you peel it like that, will just kind of shred and look like crap from that point on. So what I'm going to do, sometimes it takes, you know what? What are you fucking being picky? No, yeah, it's the, when we transported this, it got moved around, I'm sure. The guy in the front row is going to be a pain in the ass.
I've done surgery.
You have? That's
It really sucks when you waste a shirt.
if you've done it before, you know it's real easy to waste a few of them. Actually, you know what? I didn't shoot this or do this graphic prior, so it's entirely possible. Yeah, it's just at the end. It's the largest graphic I've ever done because of the amount of names I had to put on it. So I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on. I'll let it sit for a minute. Just a rundown on t-shirts. You can spend $7 a t-shirt and buy some really, really nice t-shirts, but they're not going to be that much different from some of the other stuff. I can buy a Fruit of the Loom shirt for $3 or $4 if I buy a couple cases of them. So you don't have to buy the most expensive shirt out there to get a nice t-shirt. What I'm going to do is I take my t-shirt and lay it onto the platen, and I jiggle it around. I'll show you this more when you come up and check it out. And quite literally, I just stick it down to the platen. The platen's the wooden piece underneath here. Yeah, I don't stretch it. I just basically, I'm temporarily gluing it down to the surface. So once I've done that, the t-shirt's not going to go anywhere. The nice thing about that is when you do black ink on a white shirt, it takes one pass to do that. When you put white ink on a black shirt, it takes one, maybe two passes. Trust me, when you put fluorescent orange ink on a black shirt, it takes 5 passes. and it's no fun. Do what? Oh, it's not. No, no. So once I get my ink in here, I'm just going to work it up a little bit. And like I say, nuclear baby shit, people. One of the things that you have to deal with t-shirt wise and graphic wise is, hey Decode, what size shirt do we wear?
It's got a lot of X's after it, but 3.
Yeah. I wear a triple or a quad XL shirt, right? The problem with that is they don't make Unix admin shirts very small. They're always big guys. But you have programmers, and those little fuckers wear small and medium shirts. When you put a 10 by 13 image onto a shirt like that, that's true. When you do something like that, heat that one real quick. When you do something like that and you have an image that's 10 by 13 on a guy who's wearing a small shirt, it covers the entire back. For me, I got a billboard back here. I can put whatever I want. Eat at Joe's, you know? What's the one? Joe's Bar and Grill, Pasadena, California, open 24 hours a day. I mean, yeah, I got plenty of space on my back to put an image. So the problem is when you create graphics to do on a shirt, you want to make sure that it's going to look good on a small shirt as it's going to look on a large shirt or triple XL. So the absolute maximum size that you want to do is 10 by 13, which unfortunately is the size I've got to do here. What Tuttle's doing, my assistant here, is he is heat curing the first fucked up shirt I've done for the day. I typically will lay down some just newsprint stock and run the first shirt through because I've got to push all this ink across the screen and through the print. And in doing so, it doesn't do a great job on the first one. There we go. Sounds like I was rubbing or cranking one out. Hit that again, we'll pull it. So, he's basically, go ahead and hit it on high. He's got a 1500 watt heat gun. It is entirely possible to cook the top of the shirt with the heat gun if you keep it too slow. You can also set the ink on fire. I've done that one. I have held a shirt in my hand and said, oh, that's a little tacky, and burned my hand. So I'll do another one once we've got this set and kind of show you what's up. Question? What do you got? Sorry? Yes. Yeah. That is another one of the fun things about, another one of the fun things, you got something? One piece per person? So yeah, the pizza's here, if you don't mind, 1 piece per person till everyone gets one and everything, and then leave a piece for me because I'm starving. So, the gentleman up front that made mention of this, yes, our first shirt of the day. Thank you very, very much. That's an extra large. You can see it covers a lot of the back of it. It is possible to shift this back and forth up to 1/4 of an inch if I put enough deflection on it. You can actually see the screw heads down here move. Trust me, this has been the bane of my existence because when you lay down the screen, you see me lay the screen and pull the squeegee forward, I'm very careful not to put any side-to-side pressure because it literally will move the screen while you're making the print. Which if you're doing black on a white shirt, it's not that big of a deal because you pull it off and hey, it looks great. But when you're going to register dot for dot, line for line onto a shirt, yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass to make them hit just right. Now, hit that some more. No. So one of the other projects, I look at it this way. My father taught me that why pay somebody to do something for you if you can do it yourself? Hence the reason most of the people are actually in this room. So I could have built this rig, but it was easier to go ahead and buy this piece and build all the other pieces around it because that's going to take me a fair amount of trial and error to get something precise.
How much was it?
How much was this? 250 bucks. How much did you guys pay for yours? Remember? Al, you bastard. Hey, Al, because you missed the first part of my talk, you have to spend the last part of my talk putting money in that bucket up front. Yeah. Al, or there you go. You get to watch Al and his, oh, I love you, baby. Al, I did tell the story of the 4 a.m. conference with, well, not the stuff that led up to the 4 a.m. conference, but the, hey, you know, why don't we do shirts at a con? So you said, why don't we do a donation-based con every year? Fucker, here it is. Shirts at a con, here it is. I tell you what, we need to take over the world. Shit, give me a whiteboard. I've got to figure this one out.
So you've made one shirt, you got 3 more to go.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. There you go. Oh, if I could pull that off. 500 for the, just for this?
Yeah, one of our members is a private purchase. When he heard how much he got yours for, he picked this.
Ooh, I'm sorry, I paid $500 for this. Oh, shit. No, it depends on what you buy and who you get it from. So, there, when you go to do a shirt like this, we just used a heat gun to temporarily set the ink. The reason I say temporarily set the ink, because if I threw this in the washer right now, two or three, I'm from the South, washer. If I ran it through the wash 2 or 3 times, eventually the text would start coming off of because I haven't actually set the ink. If I take my cute little pinkies and pull things back and forth, you can see the graphics kind of stretch a little bit, but if I give it a good pull, you'll see a break happen in the ink, and it basically from that point on goes downhill. So what I do is I make it where I can do that, and I don't get any baby shit on my hands. So my father said, well, why would you do something like that? Just make your own. So here's the $500 flash dryer. If you can imagine, this is a $7 toaster and a $12 quarter sheet pan. Who knows what a quarter sheet pan is? Good, okay, weirdo. So, do what? Does it run? Actually, by the end of the con, we can make it run Linux. What I ended up doing is I said, you know, I really don't want to pay 500 bucks for a dryer that I'm only going to use here and there. If I fire it up and start doing a lot of t-shirts, and the consortium members are probably going to do this soon, I'll go pay $250 to $500 for a dryer. But for the most part, I'm just going to make something happen. So this is one of those, Jesus, I hope it doesn't fry something. I literally disassembled a toaster and took the heating pieces out, the nichrome and the mica plates that it uses to insulate everything, and retrofitted it to a electrically conductive quarter sheet pan. Trust me. Yeah, I don't want it to void me, if you know how that goes. So, no, that's why it's electrically isolated by this switch that I'm not going to touch metal on when I flip it on. No, it will. It's actually. Don't, Jesus, don't touch this. Actually, I was going to get Mudflap to stand over here and run it because, you know, I think I can trust him. So what I ended up doing, I took those plates out. I took some long screws and some nylon spacers and actually spaced the plates out. Once we're done, I'll show you, how it's set up and everything. But I made the actual dryer toaster pieces stand off where they wouldn't touch anything. The problem is nylon does burn. To set the ink on one of these shirts, it's 320 degrees for about 30 seconds. So unfortunately, nylon does burn at anything above 200 and some odd. So while we're running it, you'll go, God, what does that smell? Well, it's this burning up. But don't worry about that. I'm not touching it. So, so I built this system basically to be able to do what I wanted to do, and I've got like 40 bucks in it. So what can you say? What I'll end up doing is adjusting this height-wise so that I can burn the top of the table here at the hotel. Don't tell anybody. But yeah, what I'm going to do is set it just above the table height, about 3 inches. We'll throw a shirt down and cook it. Cure it with this thing. And once we do that, the ink and everything should be set and shouldn't be a problem at all until I figure out why that won't move. I don't know. Actually, what we'll do is we'll peel back the drapery on the edge. Has everybody got pizza yet? You can actually get up and get pizza. It's not going to morally offend me if you. Yeah, Tuttle is the whipping boy. I tell you what, he kept up with me during Freaknik. I think I went 11 hours of sleep in 5 days, and I think we had Tuttle going through a nervous breakdown by the time we got through all that. Let's see. Do what?
We can check the parking lot and see if there's a truck with a jet engine.
Yeah, that's another thing we're kind of known for. When a guy comes up and he says, hey, yeah, I've got a jet engine in the back of my truck. Can I put it on top of the roof? And you go, I don't think insurance is going to cover that one, man.
With a mystery switch that he doesn't know what does.
Yeah. We said, oh, wow, man, that's cool. Did you get trained on how to run a jet engine? And he said, no, not really. Well, how do you know what it does? And he said, I took things off of it until it quit working, and then I put things back on until it did. Where'd he get it? Bob's Army Navy, I think. We're going to have, hey, Tuttle. Yeah, we're going to have to pull that down and hook this up, too. Here you go. If you'll bring that down. Okay. Yeah, if I set the hotel on fire, don't tell anybody.
Like the other one does?
No, I just leave it in the center. So what I end up doing is taking my shirt, laying it underneath there, letting the heat come on, and I'm going to cure it for about 30 seconds, which I'll stand here and bullshit my way through a little bit. And I'm just going to move it up a little bit after that 30 seconds and cure everything really well. Then I'm going to pass the shirt around. You can play with the shirt, see what you think about it and all that fun jazz. And then I'm probably going to put the other screen on and start printing a bunch of shirts if anyone wants one. So, because, you know, it's that for another 45 minutes, I think. Anybody having any fun yet? Did you get your money's worth? Good. I like that. I did, when I was doing the staff shirts, I've pulled, who's got an iPhone? The timer function works great unless you double tap it accidentally and it doesn't start the timer. You don't hear it go bing bong. So I turned around after 2 minutes and there was smoke rising off a shirt. It's like, that could be bad.
You need a conveyor belt.
Well, that's going to be more than a couple $100. Yeah, I don't have one of those anymore. Once I sold my rig, I don't have one anymore. One of those what? Chronometers? Those newfangled things? I'll let this sit for a minute. Anybody got any more questions? Want to hear a good story? I don't know. Some toast? Yeah.
How do you make the negative?
Oh, that is actually a very good question. Back in the day, there were a lot of other things that you did to make something like this happen. Nowadays, what I ended up doing is I took Quark Express, which a lot of people like InDesign. I like Quark. I was kind of raised on it. I took all of the scans, literally took the foam core, cut it, threw it on a scanner, scanned it in, went back in, cleaned everything up. If you had a stray mark, I took it out. If you had too light a print, I cleaned it up. Laid all of these things out in Quark. It used to be you hand somebody a Quark document and you hand them the fonts, the pictures, everything that was associated with it. You actually had to hand all that stuff to them to render that. There you go. You actually had to do all that work to render it. Now you output it to an Adobe PDF and hand it to them, and that's it. You know, it's 32K and it has everything you need. So I sent these to a buddy of mine at Sir Speedy in Nashville. His name is Charlie Brown, ironically. I handed it off to Charlie Brown and said, here. I came back 2 days later and I had sheets of negatives for it. So there you go. Pass that around.
How much do you charge you for negatives?
Or positives, as Decode's yammering in the back. To get a 11 by 17 sheet of film positive was $15. I could have probably said, hey man, you know, I'm a starving artist, and he would have given it to me for free. But, you know, I figure Charlie needed to make some money too.
What if you decide to make your own?
If you decide to make your own, here's your options that are available. Buy a liner typesetter or something similar and bend over because it's going to be expensive. You have to buy the chemicals to develop the film. They have an expiration date on them. You have to keep the machine clean. Or you buy Mylar, run it through a laser printer. The only problem with running Mylar through a laser printer, what does a laser printer use? Heat. It uses very high heat. When you run Mylar through very high heat, it distorts. The toner that you put on there isn't dark enough, so you have to print two of them, lay them over the top of each other, and guess what? When you distort two pieces of plastic, they don't register. So you get kind of little jaggies that stick out everywhere. So that doesn't work. Now I've seen, do I? Just a smidgen. The actual clear Mylar with the inkjet on there doesn't distort because there's no heat involved, but it's not quite dark enough or opaque enough to be able to use exactly like I was using here. So you have to print two copies, lay them over each other. Then you get into the thing where the Mylar actually resists some of the light going through it, and you have to change your exposure. Literally, it's like play around with it for a while. You can go buy 8.5 by 11 sheets to run through an inkjet printer and do this stuff at home. Literally, like, we could sit down, go online. I could tell you exactly what you need to buy to go do a silkscreen, you know, hobby at home. If you want to do it production-wise, you don't want to do it this way. You can do, you know, onesie-twosie shirts, but you don't want to do one shirt with something like this because I've said, you know.
Take orders. How many people want a shirt?
How many people want a shirt? Cool. Well, there's one coming around so you can take a look at it so all the people who didn't raise their hand can see why they need one. Oh God, where was I until I was interrupted by the guy in the front row? No, if people say, hey, yeah, make me a shirt. No, I will not make you a shirt. I will make you a dozen shirts. How's that? Because the amount of time it takes me to get all this stuff set up and going and clean it up to do one shirt, it's going to cost you $500. But if I'm going to make you a dozen of them, they're not that expensive. If you want a shirt, you go to Cafe Press and make it happen that way. So what I'm going to do is, where's my, do what? It has to get 320 degrees for 30 seconds to actually set the image. And if you don't set it, you'll find that it doesn't work worth a damn later on. So I haven't found anything other than using direct heat like this that will cure one properly. So, the shirt that I have passed around is just one image on it. I don't know where the hell I'm going to put this. You know what? Tip that one back and we'll lay it on top of the, yeah, that works, but that's definitely not something that works well production-wise. That's, yeah. Yes, question in the back, sir. I had a question in the back. What? Yeah. You can shoot one in 35 or 40 seconds? Is that carbon arc? Jesus. Nice. The only thing that I've ever worried about, well, I've worried about a couple things with using halogen like that, is the amount of heat it creates. So then you've got to do a horizontal system in a vacuum frame, because if you do it like this, you're going to cook your emulsion. But also, I guess for 30 seconds, you can't walk out and watch the meter spin while you turn that thing on. Oh, okay. So if anyone wants a T-shirt, you want to like come up here and we'll like make a T-shirt, eh? Cool. So I'm actually, now what I'm doing is taping off the screen because I'm Lazy Bastard.
I've already ordered it.
It's a low tack. Yeah, it's just a shitty plastic. It doesn't. It's not very tacky, so when you go to peel it off, it comes off in a heartbeat. But half the time, it doesn't stick when you need it to either. But it's what they end up using to mask things off. It also makes cleanup really easy. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to turn the microphone off and stand up here and play around and make shirts and stuff. Feel free to come up here, shoot the bull, get involved, tell a story.
SkyDog,
Yeah.
what's the function of the tape?
I'm a lazy bastard and I don't feel like cleaning. No. If there are pinholes